As the topic given is communication research, I think we first should ask what is research. Normally people research associate with laboratories with long hair, white hair and old man. And they are supposed to do something very innovative, something new, something groundbreaking kind of development. But I would put research as an ordinary phenomena, or I would say it's an ordinary process. Everybody does research, and I would go to the extent of saying that even the small children do research. Common man do research every day. Whatever he does in day-to-day life, he do some kind of research. Now, research, I would say, if you put it very simply or in simple words, I would say it's a process of inquiry, and that inquiry should be systematic, objective and comparative. All of us do make inquiries. When you buy certain things in the market, we do make inquiries about the price, quality, etc. In a way, that's also a research. But when you talk of research in the terms now in academic sense, we do it little more systematically. Now, I don't know if you fully understand the word systematic. I'm sure you do understand. Systematic means you set out certain procedures and follow them very systematically or very orderly manner. Our whole upbringing is to make our mind and our thinking systematic. For instance, when we teach children, we teach them after A comes the B and then the C, and how grammar is made. This is all to make your thinking systematic. When we drive on the road, we are also told and taught that you should drive on the left. So, system is which all life carries on. Now, in research, we expect that when you are doing a research, you are asking the questions very systematically. Now, the second criteria of inquiry, which make it a research, is objective. Normally, we do ask questions, common men also do ask questions, but their personal preferences, likes, dislikes, biases do operate. But in research, the expectation is that your personal likes, dislikes, biases do not interfere your inquiry. Now, the third criteria of anything to be research is comparative. I make its point simpler that one person's research and the other person's research, if they are compared, they should lead to the same results. To make the point clearer, I would give the example of a police inquiry. Means some accident takes place or some crime takes place. Police do make inquiry. Now, that inquiry may not be research. Now, their inquiry also in a way is very systematic. They follow the modern scientific methods of inquiry. They try to find a solution or answer to the crime or the accident. So, they are not biased, they are not supposed to be biased, but their inquiries are normally not comparative. Comparative means they are not compared with others, but at times they also make comparative with other similar crimes to reach certain solutions. So, any research which is not comparative or which is not objective and which is not systematic is not in real sense the research. So, to repeat again, you can listen it carefully that research is a process of systematic, objective and comparative inquiry into any phenomena or process or situation or event. Now, the question is, what is communication research? Now, all must be, this is broad social sciences or all sciences, it applies to physical sciences, social sciences, this definition of systematic, objective and comparative inquiry. But what is communication research? It follows all the three, that is being systematic, objective and comparative. Only differentiated focus is communication process, communication events, communication phenomena. If you are doing research on communication process or event or phenomena, you are doing communication research. So that's the simple way of looking at communication research. Now, what are those communication events, phenomena and processes? All of us, you are quite familiar. You are students of communication or journalism and mass communication. What you all deal with communication. Now, take the example of newspapers. If you are doing a research on newspaper, all different kinds of researches are possible. That is means media. Then you might be doing research on television, you might be doing research on radio or folk forms or interpersonal communication. So, all will constitute the communication research. Within communication research, there are different areas which different times different people have focused upon. One means if you clearly have a vision or kind of conception of what is a communication process, every component of communication process could be researched upon. I am sure you are all aware of that communication process has 4 major components or elements. The first is source, all of us know. The second is the target audience or recipient. Third is the message, and fourth is the medium. These 4 elements are interacting with each other. Now, if you do research on any of these 4, you are doing again communication. If you are doing research on source, we normally call it source analysis. Who are the people who are generating communication? For instance, if you are doing a source analysis of newspaper, means who are the reporters, what is their background, what is their qualification, what is their professional qualification, what are their political inclination or different kind, who are the people who make news or who gathers news or who are serving as a gatekeepers. So, do they need further training? Do they need further orientation? Do they need further skill development in terms of the modern use of technologies? Now, all these are matters which you can be revealed through source analysis or research upon the sources. Same thing can apply those who are working on the radio or any other medium or television. Now, the second component, which is the recipient, the major part, that we call audience. Now, maximum number of research world over have been done audience, because you might be having a message to communicate, you might have a channels to take your message to them, but ultimately it's the audience, it's the recipients who matters a lot. So, the communicators have been trying to analyze who constitute my audience. Anyone who does not do that kind of analysis, or he think he has a message and he has a technology, so he will deliver the message, perhaps he is not correct. People receive the message as they wish to receive them. We often say communication is highly selective process. Now, the recipient selectively receive the message. Now, he or she, right from the first step, that is exposure, may or may not see your message. To give you a simple example, when you are driving on the road, the driver will see what helps in driving safely on the road. The person sitting next to him may not see that. He might be seeing some other things. He might be seeing a hoarding on the side. So, everybody selectively read, selectively see and selectively hear. Whatever the format of communication is, the audience or recipients all the time selectively receive. So, this fact came through research. They are not sitting ducks like you repeat lies 100 times and it becomes truth. It doesn't happen that way. All of us select the messages coming from different directions. We may totally ignore a message. Now, the second part of understanding which came through audience research is that, okay, you select the messages, but on what basis you select? We normally say we selectively expose, selectively interpret and selectively use message. Not only we avoid exposure, even after exposing ourselves to a particular message, we might derive different meaning out of the same message. Now, this is very common. means in political area, particularly attitude area, you will interpret a victory of a person very happy, other person the same news will victory of that person very not so very happy event. Now what use you make of, that's also selective. For instance, advertisement is there on a newspaper, you may not read that advertisement. Having even read that message, you may not interpret the same way, and thirdly, even if you interpret it the same way, you may not use that information at all. Now the question again arises for research, why this happens so, why people selectively see, why people selectively read, why people selectively hear, and having selectively exposed, or why they selectively interpret. Again research come to your help, that why people selectively. The audience research again helped us to understand that people select messages on the basis of their needs. If they need a message or a message, they will certainly read it, because the driver needs safe driving, so he will see everything which can help him safe driving. So requirements, need, or in a student, he has to appear in examination, anything relevant to his or her examination, he or she will read. So need determines to a great extent what you are exposed to. Second criteria of this selection is your kind of past history. When the need is in terms of any moment in future, means your past experience. You have been used to it, you know it, he is a good writer, then you will read him. If you are a favorite columnist, you will read him, you trust him. So all this helps in your exposure, interpretation and use. Third is again is a different kind of expectation, that you selectively read, write and expose on the basis of your needs in the future and your past experience. But third factor which influence your exposure is your mood, that what kind of mental condition or mood you are in, your happier mood. That's why all communication put a lot of emphasis on creating right ambience so that your message is received. All creativity in communication is based on or should be on this aspect, create a right ambience, right mood in the recipient so that he or she receives your message. So research is so important. It's all through communication research. Not only, and let me tell you, communication research is a kind of discipline which has emerged in a recent. As a matter of fact, the whole communication is a recent phenomenon in academic sense. Though communication is as old as human race, but communication as a discipline emerged out of contribution from many other social sciences, psychology, sociology, anthropology, political science. So communication research also draws heavily on social sciences, but follow its own methods also. So these are important contribution of the audience research or audience analysis. Similarly, as if you remember, we talked about the message analysis, that content analysis, which is unique in communication, different from social sciences, that what are the contents of the message. For instance, if you open a book, always you will find a content page. What that indicates? That indicates that this book contains on page number 1 forward, then introduction or something, means what is the essence or the sum and substance of those pages or different section in the book. So you look towards that chapter. Content analysis, if you define in simple terms, is quantitative analysis of your message, what it contains, so that researcher can get an idea, like I have given him this much to my audience. Now if you have to change, for instance, if you do a content analysis of a daily newspaper, you can find out of say 16 pages, 20 page daily newspaper, how much space is devoted to advertisement, how much space is devoted to news. Now within that news, you can further analyze it, how much space is devoted to so-called political news or social news or education or what we call social issues per se, or development issues are also called. So, different kinds of, depending on your requirement, you can analyze the content. Essentially, in content analysis, you fix the categories, that economic news or political news. So, you have to define these two terms, what is a political news and what is the economic news, and try to find out in Hindustan time how much is political news, how much is a social news, compared to say Hindustan time, the two comparative newspaper, or how much is the crime news, which sells better, why a particular newspaper circulation is rising. Those kind of issues could be also, is it the contents which matters, or is it the audience preference, or is a combination of the two. So, all these questions are addressed through communication research by analyzing audience at one hand and then analyzing the contents on the second hand. Or third, or means the fourth factor or fourth area of communication research, we call it media analysis, that which medium is more effective to communicate. Now, is it print or it's audio visual? And actually, if the people do not know how to read, the print won't work. Or if you say audio visual, or you say the television, well, television illiterate person can watch and understand, but suppose a problem arises, there's no electricity, or the supply is not very regular, he might be having a television, he might have the ability to watch a television and understand the message, but it's a simple factor like non-availability of electricity perhaps could interfere. All these questions are addressed through communication research. The last, I would say the fifth major area of communication research is what we call impact analysis, or even before impact analysis, we have a system called feedback analysis. Newspapers, all of you must be aware and reading sometime, if not all the time, letter to the editors in the newspaper. What are these letters to the editor in the newspaper? These are feedback by the readers of that particular newspaper on various contents of that newspaper. They might comment, they might add, they might criticize, but this is a kind of feedback. In classroom also, if it's kind of face-to-face classroom, the teacher do ask the student, do you follow? Yes. Means their faces reflect, their questions reflect, their body language reflect. So, that's a feedback. Now, we are in a now distance mode. I may not able to see you. You might be able to see me, might be seeing me. But certainly, your questions will reflect the feedback on what I am saying. So, feedback is an important area of research in communication. Now, the sixth major area of research we call impact analysis. This is the most difficult, complex process. It involves many things. Basically, it centers around one question, that is communications effect or communications impact, because all communication to some extent are intended to create some influence or impact on the target audience. If it's entertainment, has this particular program entertain you, means a serial on a television or film on entertaining enough, or it's an educative enough, means from audience you get feedback, you get the responses, what impact, what it created. So, the impact analysis is a bit more complex. First you should know what are the state of affairs now, and after communication what has happened. Now, this particular activity is more in the area of development communication. Means, let me say a word about development communication. Is essentially means use of communication in support of development. In developing countries like India, we communicate a lot to the rural masses, to the poor people, even to the general citizen. For instance, recently the government passed an act, right to education. Now, have the people become aware, and if government has through mass media and through other means of communication inform the masses that there is a right to education, are they availing that right to education? So, that's the kind of impact analysis, how far people have been aware. Now, these are numerous examples on the development front. In tribal area, for instance, there are lots of schemes, Forest Right Act or scholarship for the high school children. Are the tribal people aware of those rights? Now, this is what impact analysis would mean, that what impact it has created on the people per se. In the process you do it, let me kind of summarize again that research is a process of systematic, objective and comparative inquiry into communication phenomena, communication process or communication event. Now, sorry. You can do research on various aspects or various elements of communication, that is source analysis, then message analysis, the content analysis, audience analysis, media analysis, and fifth is impact analysis. I think this is, I would say, is the crux of communication research. You can go deeper and deeper into this as you move. After this, you can do various kind of research. You can whole idea of research or any research or communication research is how to make your things more effective. Normally people ask this question, and I would ask you also the question, that why anyone does research, why you do research? I would say yes, the one consideration is every human being has an inquisitive mind. You have inquiry, what it is, how it is, why it is. These kind of basic questions all human beings ask all the time. So inquisitiveness, to satisfy your inquisitiveness, is one purpose of research. Second, of course, degree, your qualification improvement. Yes, that's also. Third, that find something new which could be a contribution to the society. But I would look at it from a slightly different perspective, that research in anything, and that's true about communication research also, helps in improving the efficacy of communication. In any area you do research, the one purpose is to improve that. If you are doing research on communication, you try to improve the efficacy of communication, so that, and if you are applying it in development communication or development, the idea is to make it more effective communication, so the development takes place at a faster rate.